United Kingdom court accepts Ekwuramadu's kidney donor as not underage. Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman discusses on the importance of fasting on the day of Arafat and what Eid al-Kabir signifies. And on the foreign scene, Boris Johnson steps down as British Prime Minister. Good evening, you listen to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. I am Hauwa Adamu Kiyawa. Today is the 7th of July 2022, which is equivalent to the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, 1443 after Hijri, and now the news in full. The federal government has declared Monday 11th and Tuesday 12th July 2022 as public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Kabir celebration. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government today, congratulated all Muslims and Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora, on this occasion. The minister assured Nigerians that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is committed to the security of lives and properties of all Nigerians, empowering the citizens for successful living, the provision of social investments programs, and adequate security in schools. Aregbesola, while wishing Muslims a happy Eid al-Kabir celebration, urged Nigerians to take responsibility by reporting any suspicious individuals and criminal activities they observe around them to law enforcement agencies with the use of the N-Alert application that has been designed to mitigate security challenges with prompt response from security agencies. The minister assured Nigerians of the government's protection for all law-abiding citizens. The Eid al-Kabir period is a time when various animals, including sheep, cows, and camels, are slaughtered to celebrate the day. The meat is shared to loved ones, and the leftover are eaten with the family. Hafsat Abdullahi El-Ladi takes a look at how people preserve their meat.
Many people leave the meat open after frying it with the hopes of it not going bad. Others put their meat in pot used to fry it, which is commonly known as kakide. The meat is usually preserved for a long period, including the head and legs, which are said to be ready after some days or months after Salah to be used. During this means of preservation, flies and free radicals usually infest the meat, which cause diseases such as vomiting and diarrhea. Freedom Radio interviewed a woman on how she preserved her meat.
Yeah, after you have drained out the water, the boiled meat water, then you put on your oil on the frying pan. It should be this deep pan so that it will be more convenient for you and the meat will have enough space. And don't put too much meat inside the oil. Allow it to have space so the oil enters it very well. Allow it to fry well. It shouldn't burn, but it should fry above frying limits, you understand? Deep fry it well, because if it doesn't fry well, it will end up getting spoiled. So after drying it, then you drain out the remaining excess oil from the meat. If possible, use the serviette to clean out the excess oil. Then you store it in bowl, airtight container or bowl.
An associate professor of biotechnology, Federal University, Dr. Bishir Sajaminde, described how diseases spread on the open meat.
But the infectious diseases involved are more than the normal causation of diarrhea and others, because when you leave meat unpreserved or you leave it open, there are some other microorganisms, not only bacteria that I mentioned earlier. There are other microorganisms, particularly aspergillus and other fungi that may likely grow on the meat. And these aspergillus have what we call some toxins. There is one that is called aflatoxin B1. And this aflatoxin B1 contain some certain carcinogenic agents.
He also shed more light on how meat can be preserved in a hygienic way.
Particularly when you slaughter a cow, for example, or a ram, during butchering, you have to carefully separate the small intestine, the large intestine from the whole body. When there are issues there when an accident happened, that some feces get contaminated. Then because those feces carries some particularly some bacteria like Campylobacter jejuni, Salmonella, Escherichia coli, and others. And these bacteria, when they are not properly killed or they are not hygienically handled, they can lead to certain level of food poisoning, particularly causing diarrhea, vomiting, and other forms of infectious diseases.
But Dr. Bashir further advised people to eat and preserve meat properly in order to protect themselves from disease due to the fact that it is a very important part of Eid al-Kabir festival. Hafsat Abdullahi Al-Ladi, Freedom Radio.
The Westminster Magistrate Court of the United Kingdom today accepted that the kidney donor in the case of former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu and his wife, Beatrice, is not a minor. Ekweremadu and his wife were arrested by the British police on June 23rd on allegations of human trafficking and organ harvesting that violate the country's Modern Slavery Act. The police authorities had accused the lawmaker of conspiring to bring a child to the United Kingdom for organ harvesting, saying the victim was a 15-year-old boy. During the continuation of the case, the prosecution accepted that he is 21 years old, contrary to earlier claims that he is 15 years of age. The court thereafter fixed August 4th as the date for the next hearing. And on the sporting arena, the Delta State government has unveiled the official mascot and logo of the 21st National Sports Festival, scheduled to hold between November 2nd and 15th, 2022. This was launched last night at the Government House in Asaba. Mamatan Uba has details of this and other sports updates.
The chief host, Governor Ifanyi Okowa of Delta State, led in attendance other top sporting personalities, including the Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Sunday Dari, Nigeria Olympic Committee President, Engineer Habu Gumel, former Delta State Sport Commission Chairman, Chief Solomon Oba, as well as members of the State Executive Council and other top government officials. In his remarks, the chairman of the 21st National Sports Festival Local Organizing Committee, Chief Patrick Oka, who doubles as the secretary to the state government, noted that the launch of both the mascot and logo of Delta 2022 shows the state is prepared toward hosting a successful event. The SSG said Delta 2022 National Sport Festival will go down in history as the best organized and most economically viable games in recent history, with the array of sponsors that have already aligned with the event. In another update, Nasib Lahari has promised the Mares of Botswana $16,000 if they beat holders Super Falcons of Nigeria in tonight Group C encounter at the 2022 Africa Women's Cup of Nations at the Prince Moulay Hassan Stadium in Rabat, Morocco by 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Her kind gestures play a key role in the Botswana qualifying for WAFCON 2022 and doled out $17,000 to the team for making it to Morocco. And on tennis, Al Jabir became the first Arab and African woman to reach Grand Slam single final in the open era as she beat German mother of two, Tatjana Maria at Wimbledon. Jabir won 6-2, 3-6, 6-1 against Maria, who aimed to become the lowest ranked woman to reach the final. The Tunisian third seed will face Simona Halep or Elena Rybakina in Saturday's showpiece. Mohammed Sanoba, Freedom Radio.
The Global News is coming to you from Freedom Radio 99.5 FM. You can send your comments, opinions, and watch us live on Freedom Radio Nigeria on Facebook.com. You can get the link to the page on our website, freedomradionig.com. Welcome back. It's to listen to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. Eid al-Kabir, also known as Eid al-Adha, marks the culmination of the Hajj rites at Mina, Saudi Arabia. It is celebrated by Muslims throughout the world on the 10th day of the Hijjah, the last month of the Islamic calendar. Maz Mu'azzu discusses with Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman on the importance of fasting on the day of Arafat and what Eid al-Kabir signifies.
The importance of fasting on the date of Arafah is clearly and distinctively mentioned in Hadith in Sahih Muslim. That Fasting on the 9th of the Hijjah erases and removes the iniquities of the past year and the iniquities of the year to come. In other words, it cleanses 24-month consecutive months of sinfulness.
What does Eid al-Kabir signify?
Eid al-Kabir signifies, among other things, humility, generosity, togetherness, the behavior of practicing the Sunnatic teachings. It also teaches the Muslim to be your brother's keeper, so to speak. And again, Eid al-Kabir also signifies how Muslims, unite in praying behind one imam. Also makes us make sacrifices like slaughtering our rams that very day. So it is important for the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to be seen that very day.
Who is eligible to make animal sacrifice?
Eligibility refers to somebody's standing in the house of Islam. For somebody to make sacrifice, he has to be a Muslim, number one. And number two, affordability is also important. If one has the money, financially okay, he is eligible to sacrifice ram on the 8th day.
Which category and type of animals are recommended for the religious rituals?
If somebody wants sacrifice, there are animals that you should sacrifice. Number one, there are goats and there are sheep, there are cows and there are camels. These are the categories. Concerning the goats, the he-goat and the she-goat, that is number one. The age limit should be jaza'a. Jaza'a means any ram that reaches the age of 6 months. Minimum age limit, 6 months. Anything lower than that is not recommended for, sacrificial offering. That's number one. Sheep, that is the he-sheep and the she-sheep should reach the age of 1 year. They call them in fiqh al-Islam al-musinna or thaniya. Thaniya is any animal in that category, that is the sheep, that is 1 year old, and the female 1 year old. Unlike the adhan, I told you, just reaching 6 months. Now, concerning the cows, each and every cow should reach 2 years. They call thaniya. It should have close 2-year-old cow, and also the female should be in the same age bracket. If it is camel, any camel should have reached the age of 5 years. Clock 5 going into 6. These are the categories and the age limit that somebody should be careful in making sure he adheres to the teaching religiously.
What is expected of the Muslims on the 10th day of Dhul Hajj?
Well, you see, these 10 days at the beginning, it is sunnatic for somebody to do something good. In a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, the riwayah of Ibn Abbas, the Prophet says, no day, in which good deed are done or is done is as rewardable as any good deed done in these first 10 days. From the first, the second to the last of these days. In fact, Allah swears by these 10 days. Allah says, wal fajri wal layalin ashr. I swear by the dawn and the 10 days. The scholars of hadith, the scholars of tafsir, exegesis agreed that these 10 days refer to the first 10 days of this time we're undergoing. You make slaughter in that 10 days and the remaining subsequent 3 days. On the 10th, on the 11th, on the 12th, on the 13th. That marks the end of the days we make sacrificial offerings. So you can have 4 days. The first one, I am saying, on the 10th. Then 11th, 12th, and 13th. Beyond these days, no longer is recommended for you to make any sacrificial offering because the days have lapsed.
That was Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman on the importance of fasting on the day of Arafat and what Eid al-Kabir signifies. And on the foreign scene, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson today finally agreed to step down as Britain's Prime Minister. Aisha Muhammad Edliman reports.
His agreement to step down comes after several weeks of intense calls for his resignation and loss of party support born out of his mishandling of damages scandals, including parties held as downstreams in the finance of coronavirus lockdown and the appointment of Chris Pincher into his government, despite knowing past allegations of sexual misconduct. Johnson is expected to continue as a prime minister out in the autumn. A conservative leadership race will hold this summer, and a new prime minister will be in place in time for a Tory party conference in October. This is the third day of steady stream of resignation from Boris Johnson government, with over 50 members gone. While making his resignation speech, Johnson noted that he is very proud of his achievements, including getting Brexit done, getting the UK through the coronavirus pandemic, and leading the West in standing up to Vladimir Putin's invasion in Ukraine. He advised that the UK must keep leveling up, adding that in doing so, the country would become the most prosperous in Europe. Aisha Muhammad, Element Freedom Radio.
And with this, we've come to the end of today's Global News. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Hauwa Adamu Kiyawa. Have a wonderful evening.